participation throughout the session. At present, we have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar. And the national webinar is also streamed live through our YouTube platform. Throughout the presentation, Ms. Shubhra Saraf will be managing the chat functionality in the Zoom platform, and Ms. Sagarika Mishra and Basanti Oram will be managing the chat functionality in the YouTube platform. You can enter your name, questions, and comments in the question box throughout the presentation. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address during our question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. Interested participants may please write their name with request for a live interaction in the chat box. You can also raise your hands in the control panel. The first 10 participants will be given opportunity for live interaction. You have to submit the feedback form for getting the e-certificate. The link for the feedback form shall appear in the chat box at around 1 hour before the closure of the webinar. At the end of the national webinar, we shall have a group photograph where everyone will be requested to on your videos in the Zoom platform. Now, please allow me to brief today's agenda of the national webinar. The national webinar will commence with a small inaugural session, beginning with the auspicious lamp lighting ceremony, along with the recitation of the invocation shlok, followed by the welcome address and introduction of the esteemed guests of the webinar. This will follow brief address by the esteemed speakers. That shall follow the address by the guest of honor, Professor Dr. Bansidhar Majhi Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor B. Surendra Sai, University of Technology. Ensuingly, we shall have the address by the chief guest of the function, Professor A.K. Das Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University. Then we will have online felicitation of the chief guest of honor, and the speakers. This will be followed by the session and live presentation by the esteemed speakers of the session, followed by the question answer session moderated by Mr. Khirot Chandra Maharana, and the national webinar shall end with the formal vote of thanks by Ms. Ananya Sabat. Sir and Madam, it's well said that in the right light at the right time, everything is extraordinary. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. As sunlight expels the darkness, similarly brings blessings in our life with prosperity and happiness. So let us begin the national webinar with the auspicious lamp lighting ceremony, along with the recitation of the invocation shlok, by invoking the blessings of the Almighty for knowledge and wisdom and making it a blessed one. I request our technical team to please kindle the lamp in online mode along with the recitation of the invocation shlok. I invite all the dignitaries and participants for the same. It's Ya Kundendu Tushar Har Dhavla, Ya Shubhra Vastravrita, Ya Veena Vardand Mandit Kara, Ya Shwet Padmasana, Ya Brahmachut Prabhriti Bhridve Sada Vandita, Sama Patu Saraswati Hinishesh Jadhyapaka. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the auspicious lamp lighting. With the blessings of Ma Saraswati, we shall begin our event. Now I deem it a great privilege and honor to present the welcome address and introduce our guests and esteemed speakers of the national webinar on 2019 NCOV and Intricacies of Indian Business. First and foremost, I take the honor of introducing and welcoming the chief guest of the event, Professor Dr. A.K. Das Mahapatra Sir, our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, an eminent academician and researcher in the field of management and accounting studies. Words will not be sufficient to quote his academic achievements. He is known for his wonderful administration and being in top-notch administrative positions, he has discharged all his responsibilities with success and excellence. Sir was also the Vice Chancellor in charge of Sambalpur University, and he has over 32 years of teaching and research experience to his credit. Sir has over 128 research publications in various journals of international and national repute, 7 books, including International Accounting, which has been published by the Printers Hall of India, New Delhi. Sir has produced 17 PhDs and 15 MPhil scholars, and 8 more are in progress. Sir is an active member in the academic and expert committees of various prestigious and premier national institutes like NAC, AICT, ICSSR, UPSC, and UGC, and associated with more than 60 Indian and foreign universities and institutions in various forms. We are indeed privileged to have Sir's constant support and guidance at OSOU. As a philanthropist, Sir has always rendered selfless services to society and has molded the life of students to help them to excel in their life. Sir, thank you so much for your valuable presence and strong motivation to organize this national webinar. Thank you, sir. Now, I deem it a great privilege and honor to take the opportunity to welcome and introduce the esteemed guest of honor of the national webinar, Professor Bansidhar Majhi Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Veer Surendra Sai University of Technology, a man with great vision and academic excellence, with over 30 years of extensive teaching experience and 2 years of industry experience. Words will fall short to describe his academic achievements and administrative achievements. Sir has been a master in the field of computer science and electronics. Sir has served premier engineering institution of national importance in the capacity of director, professor, head of department, and many highest administrative positions. Sir is the awardee of prestigious Global League Fellowship by MHRD and Samant Chandrasekhar Award for Outstanding Contribution in Engineering and Technology. Likewise, Sir has many such awards added to his achievements. Sir has developed many undergraduate and postgraduate engineering courses. Sir holds the membership of many prestigious societies of national and international importance like LNCSI, MIEE, and many more. Sir has supervised more than 22 doctoral students and many PG dissertations. Sir has 5 sponsored projects, more than 122 publications. Sir, we deem it a great privilege for accepting our request for being the guest of honor in the national webinar. We would be fortunate to seek your guidance, support, and presence in our future endeavors. We welcome you, sir. Again, I take the honor for welcoming the esteemed speaker of the webinar, Professor Dr. Devashish Sur, sir. The University of Bardhaman, West Bengal, India, with more than 25 years of teaching experience. He is an invited member in his areas of interest include financial statement analysis, corporate performance management, corporate financial management, and international accounting. Sir has also produced many PhD scholars and have guided many dissertations. Sir, we indeed feel privileged for accepting our request for being the resource person for the national webinar. Thank you so much, sir. We welcome you. I deem it a privilege to welcome Professor Dr. S.K. Baral, sir, Professor, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh. Sir has more than 30 years of experience in both industry and academics. Sir has received many awards of academic excellence and eminence at national and international level, including the Bharat Vibhushan Samman Puraskar 2030. Sir has produced many PhD scholars and have also guided many dissertations and MPhil scholars. Sir, we indeed feel proud for accepting our invitation and being the resource person for our national webinar. Thank you, sir. We welcome you. I take it a great privilege to welcome Professor Dr. Amalendu Bhunia, the Professor and Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, the University of Kalyani, Kolkata, West Bengal. Sir has also more than 22 years of extensive experience in the field of commerce and management. Sir is a specialized resource person in statistical analysis on quantitative data, and he has received many prestigious national awards. Sir has guided many PhD scholars and have also guided the dissertations and MPhil scholars. Sir, we feel proud for your presence in the national webinar, and we thank you so much for accepting our invitation for being a resource person in our webinar. We welcome you, sir. I again deem it a privilege for welcoming Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar, Dean Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya School of Commerce and Management Sciences, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar. And Sir has more than 17 years of teaching experience, and he is expertise in the field of international business and finance. Sir has also received many national awards and have guided many PhD scholars and have produced many dissertations and MPhil scholars. Sir, we deem it a great privilege for your presence in our national webinar and accepting our request as a resource person. Thank you so much, sir. We welcome you. We are fortunate and privileged to have you all as a resource person in the webinar. We would thank and express our gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for bringing all of you in one platform as the resource person of the webinar. It's a pleasure for us to welcome all the participants of the webinar from all over India on behalf of Odisha State Open University. Your presence is highly appreciable by all of us. We welcome you, all the participants who have shown a great enthusiasm for registering in the webinar. Sir and Madam, as we know, the pandemic has exposed the world's risky dependence on vulnerable nodes in global supply chains. We could see a massive restructuring as production and sourcing move closer to end users and companies localize or regionalize their supply chains. The world is facing new challenges. How are these going to impact the Indian economy? How is the business going to manage itself under such challenging situation? These are some of the questions that need answers. And it is in this context that this national webinar has been organized. The objective of the webinar is to share the insights of the macroeconomic challenges India faces and the fiscal measures the Indian government has put in place. It will also highlight the emerging trends and predictions looking into 2021 and beyond, both from a general and sector-specific perspective. Not taking much time, now I would like to invite the esteemed speakers of the session to address our participants for a few minutes. First of all, I would like to invite Professor Devasish Sur, Sir, Professor, Department of Commerce, the University of Burdwan, West Bengal. Sir, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yes. Good morning to everyone present here. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University, and eminent academician in the field of commerce and management, Professor Orko Kumar Das Mohapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Veer Surendra Shai University of Technology, Professor Bongshidhar Maji, esteemed speakers, respected Professor S.K. Boral, respected Professor Pavnesh Kumar, and respected Professor Amalendu Bhunia. Ms. Prasangsha Das, the coordinator of this mega event. And ladies and gentlemen, today we have assembled here to make some discussion on the issue entitled Novel Coronavirus and Intricacies of Indian Business Sector, which is one of the most relevant issues in the present day situation. So the webinar is no doubt a wonderful addition to the calendar of different innovative activities performed by the Odisha State Open University under the able leadership of Professor A.K. Das Mohapatra. I hope we all will enjoy this webinar today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. S.K. Baral, sir, Professor, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh. Sir, please.
Very good morning to all of you. Esteemed,
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Very good morning. Esteemed Vice Chancellor of Odisha State Open University, Sambalpur, Odisha, Professor Arka Kumar Das Mahapatra, the most dynamic and visionary academician and a very, very potential Vice Chancellor. The guest of honor today's occasion, Professor Dr. Bansidhar Majhi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bir Surendra Sai University of Technology, Sambalpur. And with me, today's resource persons, we are esteemed Professor Dr. Devasis Sur, Department of Commerce, University of Bardhaman, Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar, Dean, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya School of Commerce and Management, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, Professor Dr. Amlendru Bhunia is a Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, University of Kalyani, West Bengal. I am very much delighted. I am very much happy that today Odisha State Open University Sambalpur is organizing one of the emerging topic on this COVID-19 and its intricacies of Indian business, and under the leadership of Professor Arka Kumar Das Mahapatra, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Odisha State Open University. And from the beginning, I have seen how this Prasanna Das, she is monitoring the entire process. Is Prasansa Das. She has monitored the entire process very closely. Even if day and night, she has engaged herself to communicate us. And thank you, madam, for your wholehearted kind of dedication to this university.
Thank you, sir.
I wish this program, this webinar will bring so many issues, so many conclusions, so many thoughts, and we'll throw lights, looking into the topics, looking into the themes, and I hope this will become one of the very, very interesting session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great privilege listening to all of you. Now, I would like to request Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar, Dean Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya School of Commerce and Management Sciences, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, to please address us.
Am I audible,
Sir,
Dr. Prasanna? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Prasanna. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Odisha State Open University, Professor A.K. Das Mahapatra, sir, who is Chief Patron and Chief Guest of this webinar. Guest of honor, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bir Sundar Sai University of Technology, Professor Bansidhar Majhi, sir. Esteemed speakers of the webinar, Professor Devasis Sur, sir, and Professor S.K. Baral, sir, Dean Faculty of Commerce and Management, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, and it is a proud privilege that we have worked together in Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, and we are here, and thanks to the Odisha State University that we are here again, Professor Amlendu Bhunia sir, Professor and Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, University of Kalyani. And ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the Odisha State University, Open University, for inviting me as a eminent speaker in this one-day national webinar on 2019 ENCO and Intricacies of Indian Business. And I would also like to congratulate the university under the dynamic leadership of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, that this webinar is going to cover all the aspects of the impact of COVID-19. Like we will discuss about the impact of pandemic on the stock and commodity markets. I will be discussing on the impact of COVID-19 on MSME sector. And one of the eminent speaker will also discuss about the corporate governance practices in India. It means almost all the gamut of issues will be discussed in this webinar, and the participants will get the insights on all these topics. So I would like to thank and congratulate the organizers and especially the Honorable Vice Chancellor. And I would also express my sincere thanks to Professor Devashish Sood sir, who has given me an opportunity, who has introduced me in this webinar. Thank you to one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. It's indeed a great privilege for having you here in the webinar. Now, I would like to request Professor Dr. Amlendu Bhunia sir, Professor and Dean, Faculty of Arts and Commerce, University of Kalyani, West Bengal, to address. Sir, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good morning to everyone. First of all, respected Chief Guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor A.K. Das Mahapatra, eminent academician in the field of commerce and management, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Odisha State Open University, respected guest of honor, Professor Veer Surendra Rai, Professor Bangshidhar Maji, Professor Dr. Bangshidhar Maji, Honorable Vice Chancellor Veer Surendra Sai, University of Technology, and speakers, today's speakers, Professor Dr. Devashish Sood. Actually, he is my teacher, and in reference of Professor Sood, today the university has invited me. Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. S.K. Boral, Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar from Bihar, and coordinator of the national webinar, Ms. Prasansa Das, moderator Maharana, Khiroj Chandra Maharana, other teachers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank to the University, Odisha State Open University, for inviting me. I take this opportunity to act as an invited speaker in the national webinar, basically on COVID-19 pandemic and intricacies of Indian business. And as the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemics wears on, and its impact obviously felt in every region, including India, including in the state of Odisha also. Every industry and indeed every aspect of life. Among the cruel and strange aspect of the pandemic is the fact that good and bad news both often seem to arrive at the same time, because we know vaccination process is going on. Industrial activity, the return of consumer demand, and growing trade momentum, and the backdrop of worsening pandemic. Pandemic two wave, we have experienced two wave, is strengthening. Hope the webinar will be successful and the participants will be motivated from this webinar. And again, thanks to the University of Odisha State Open University for inviting me. Thank you very much. And over to Ms. Prasamsa Das.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like, I take a great honor and privilege to invite our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Bansidhar Manjhi, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir V. Surendra Sai, University of Technology. Sir, please.
Very good morning to all of you. In fact, I am an odd man amongst the right people, because I am a computer science by profession, computer scientist, and the topic is on business dealings and business of Indian business during the COVID time. In fact, it is a proud privilege to be among with all of you, and it is my privilege to be part of this ceremony. Honorable Das Mahapatra sir, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University, Professor Sur, Professor Baral, Professor Pranesh Kumar, and Professor Vunia, all the experts in the field. During my study at way back in 1988, when I talked about, I was studying a course called Accountancy, Financial Management, and Business Management. I remember business means customers, products, demand, market. And when our business is growing, definitely our GDP is growing, right? And the growth is in terms of both at the national level as well as the international level. But if we remember when we started in March 2020, the pandemic started and the whole world has come to a stall. And we, in fact, we are only thinking for our own life and livelihood, forget about the business. A lot of people lost their life, valuable life during this pandemic, unprecedented enemy that has made all our activities to a complete stall. The complete growth process has moved, and we were all starting from business, education, whatever you talk about. We have really in a real savvy state, and fortunately we are coming to a normalcy, but still we are in a soft state that there is a possibility of third wave, and we are all in a different state of mind. In fact, when this pandemic has started, nobody has understood how things are happening and when things are like going to different state, and everybody was in a chaotic state. And you know, like it has spread it across more than 190 countries, and India has mostly also got affected during this first and second wave. But during this pandemic itself, in fact, a lot of work has been done. We could have a drug discovery, like we have a Bharat Biotech has come for a vaccine, and also different other countries has come out, and we are all moving towards a normalcy. Medical devices has been innovated, and self-reliance has taken a forefront, because unless we become self-reliant, we will not be able to depend on others. And also in other aspects, we have learned a lot of things: importance of the environment, importance of the immunity, good health. We are, in fact, have understood that how these things will play a role to make us safe from the thing. So as we will be coming to normalcy, definitely taken a full swing, because, and I'm sure this particular workshop or this particular event, we have 5 different experts, including Professor Arkat Mahapatra sir. We have a lot of deliberations will take place, and the participants will definitely take a good things out of it. It will be academically fruitful, and everybody will enjoy the event. I wish all the participants, and as well as my sincere regards to all the experts for this particular event. Thank you very much for making me to be a part of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. And we need your guidance and support in our future endeavors also, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I deem it a great privilege to invite the chief guest of the national webinar, Professor Dr. A.K. Das Mahapatra, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University, to please address the event. Sir, please.
Thank you, Prashant. Greetings to all. We are just through with 12 noon, so good afternoon at the same time. Our honorable guest of honor, Professor Bangshidhar Maji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of VSS UT, a prominent academic institution in the state of Odisha. The invited speakers, especially Professor Dr. Devasis Soor, Professor S.K. Baral, Professor Pavnis Kumar, Professor Omalendu Munya, my colleagues and officers of Odisha State Open University, our registrar, Dr. Manas Pujari, the finance officer, Mr. Sarangi, other faculty members, staff of the university, learners, students, researchers, teachers from other universities, other institutions, including participants from industry, representative of media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I feel it's an honor to have you all together in this particular platform. Professor Maji said that he is somewhere odd man out, but I know that nothing moves without technology, and that too, he is the key for having the expertise both in computer science and electronics and telecommunication. This has which, I mean, this is the two discipline in engineering and technology, which has been able to hold us together, just not us, the whole world. So, Professor Machi, you are very much just not welcome. You best fit into the conglomeration of these experts that we are from business and industry. I'm personally thankful to all the professors Professor Devasis, Sur, Professor S.K. Baral, Professor Pavnish, Professor Omlendo. I know they are an authority in the field of commerce and management, and especially the subjects or the topics, the sub-themes that they have chosen, and then together the four, gigantic person, when they join hands together, they give us a solid product. And the product for today is the national webinar on 2019 and COVE and intricacies of Indian business. I am very thankful to you all, including Professor Machi, who could find some time to encourage us. I know that we'll have about 2 hours of session from now onwards, where the speakers will have time to speak for about 25 minutes to 30 minutes each. And I'm very sure the webinar is going to bring lot of issues, rather intricacies, into the surface. And in the process, the speakers will also be able to give us solutions, or at least the direction that is expected from out of the current pandemic situation. I fully agree with Professor Machi that about a year back, when we experienced in the the beginning of 2019, the COVID situation, they were definitely necessarily a chaotic situation, a total uncertainty as to what is going to happen. I fully agree with Professor Machi that that time the priority was to save our life, and thereafter to have either rather to sustain with whatever limited earnings that we had or the savings that people were having. But things have certainly got stabilized. In the Indian context, you all are aware that the barometer of Indian economy, as we understand that the Bombay Stock Exchange index, I mean, which has suited over 58,000, and that actually indicates that we are back into the economy. And no doubt there was a phase of both uncertainty and some amount of volatility at the same time. But I'm sure we have now learned how to even live with these uncertainties. And as people have rightly said before, that the only constant today is change. But with these uncertainties, we are actually embracing a change which was actually not planned, not expected, not anticipated. And we are the best manager today that we have taken the shortest possible time to cope up with the changing scenario, and the business and industry has equally responded. And I am sure you will all agree that to face this change, the change and the challenges, technology and innovation is going to play the most significant role. I would call it the pivotal role in holding us together and taking us forward. Just not in terms of networking, but in terms of our, professional commitments, professional connectivity, but also in terms of economic activities, in terms of business, in terms of industry. We know because of this pandemic situation, there are certain industries which flourished, at least healthcare industry, is one side. Of course, food chain and many more. I am certainly not going to courage to venture into the domain of the four experts that we are having. And sometimes people say that when you become a part of the administration, you tend to forget about academics. So now we have the experts, so let us listen from them. But what I precisely mean and understand is that we have learned to live with our uncertainties, we have learned to live with challenges, and I'm convinced to say so, that we are capable of facing any amount of challenges that are going to come. So when it comes to intricacies, certainly there will be both challenges and opportunities. So without losing time further, I really do not want to stand between the listeners and the speakers, because we have chosen four very, very vibrant speakers on the particular subject. And therefore, I would like to take leave from all of you, and my special thanks goes to all of you, both the audience and the organizers of this webinar, as well as the experts, and the very dear guest of honor, Professor B.D. Maji. Being a Vice Chancellor, I understand the amount of pressure he must be undergoing in order to manage the show. So I would rather put this way, that Professor Maji, after the formal inaugural session, may take leave, because we will not hold him up for long. And with these words, once again, I personally express my thankfulness to each one of you for making a part of this event. And I wish all the best to the organizers, Prasansa and her team, for coordinating and for making this particular program a successful one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was possible only with you as a driving force, as a mentor, as a guider. Everywhere you have supported us for organizing this national webinar. So thank you so much, sir. The last part of the inaugural session is the online felicitation of the esteemed guests of the national webinar. First of all, I would like to invite and welcome esteemed Registrar of Odisha State Open University, Dr. Manas Ranjan Pujari, sir, and esteemed Comptroller of Finance of Odisha State Open University, Srinalini Ranjan Sarangi, sir, for the felicitation of our guest. I would like to invite our Registrar, sir, to please felicitate the Honorable Chief Guest of the national webinar, Professor Dr. A.K. Das Mahapatra, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University. Sir, please. You can please just hold the memento and show it to our audience as a sign of felicitation. Later on, it will be dispatched to all our guests. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I must tell our audience that with our Vice Chancellor at the helm of affairs, the academic matters are moving in the right direction and has picked up speed. And on behalf of the organizers, I thank our Vice Chancellor and hope this activities will continue in future and Odisha State Open University will reach greater heights, sir. A small memento from the organizers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your continued support and guidance. Now, I would like to request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Odisha State Open University, to please felicitate our Honorable Guest of Honor of the National Webinar, Professor Dr. Bansidhar Maji, Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, V. Surendra Sai University of Technology. Sir, you may please hold the memento and show it to our in the screen So it's a sign and a token.
Professor Majid, this is from our side, and you are the technologist, and so you accept it in a virtual mode.
I would request our technical team to show our
Thank you.
honorable chief guest also, guest of honor, in the screen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request again registrar sir to please, first of all I would like to, and COF sir, to felicitate our speaker. First of all, I would like to invite the Comptroller of Finance sir, Sri Nalini Ranjan Sarangi sir, to please felicitate Professor Debashish Sood sir for the national webinar. Sir, please. Okay, I would request registrar sir to do the felicitation. I will request technical team to please on the video of registrar sir and COF sir for the felicitation part.
No, Dr. Pujari, our registrar is holding the felicitation memento.
Sir.
Yeah. Professor Soor is not.
On behalf of Odisha State Open University, I thank you for receiving our invitation and agreeing to present a paper in this webinar. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar.
I would like to request registrar sir to please felicitate Professor Dr. S.K. Paral sir.
Yeah, it's
Professor Patel.
It's over.
Okay. Please, sir, I will request you, sir, to please felicitate Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar sir.
Please show it, Dr. Pujari, if you can just hold it. Yeah. We could not see it properly for Professor Boral.
No issues. Virtually, it happens.
Thank you.
Sir,
thank you, Professor Bunya.
Yes. Yes, sir. Team, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request registrar sir to please felicitate Professor Dr. Amlindu Punia sir. Sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Bunya, for agreeing to be amidst us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We will be dispatching all the.
If you can once more hold for Professor Baral.
Not required, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. I accept it.
Okay, done.
Okay, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Just a piece of information that we will be dispatching all our mementos via post to the address of our esteemed speakers. Thank you so much, sir. Now, this is the closer of the inaugural session. We shall start the technical session by this. So I would now like to request, first of all, our esteemed speaker, Professor University of Burdwan, West Bengal, to please start the session on 2019 nCoV pandemic and intricacies of Indian business. Sir, please.
Okay. Thank you, Madam. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor A.K. Das Mohapatra, Odisha State Open University, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Veer Shurendra Shahi University of Technology, Professor Majhi, sir, other esteemed speakers present here, Professor Boral, respected Professor Boral, respected Professor Pavnesh Kumar, Professor Bhuiya, and other professors present here, other distinguished persons present here, and ladies and gentlemen. Now we have assembled here to make some discussion on the issue novel coronavirus and intricacies of Indian businesses. We all know that COVID-19, that means novel coronavirus, which is popularly known as COVID-19, was first found in India in the last week of January 2020. That means we have already spent a period of more than 19 months. Lockdown started in India on 25th March 2020. We completed fourth phase of lockdown, complete lockdown, and still we are in semi-lockdown phase. So there has been a tremendous impact of COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown on the Indian economy as well as world economy. In this context, we can mention some information. We all know that the United States of America is the most powerful country in the world from economic point of view. In fact, USA is financially the strongest country in the world. In USA, in April 2020, about 15 to 17% employees lost their job. More than 2 crore people became jobless only in the month of April 2020 in USA. Now, if we consider the India's position, India's situation, we find that the India's picture is more alarming. If we go through the report published by the CMI, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, we find that the unemployment rate, which was less than 7% in the mid-March 2020, became more than 27%, 27.11% in the first week of May. It was about 29% in the urban areas and 26% in the rural areas. During this lockdown period, more than 14 crore people lost their job. They became jobless during this lockdown period. So it has a severe effect on Indian business sector. However, unemployment rate declined significantly in the month of July 2020 onwards. If we consider the report published by CMI on 4th June 2021, we find that the unemployment rate has unemployment rate has again increased. Actually, in the month of July 2020, it was 7.43%. And in June 2021, it has again started to increase due to the second phase of COVID-19. And as per the report published by CMI on 4th June 2021, the unemployment rate in India became 12.6%. As per the report published by CMI on 1st September 2021, the unemployment rate has become 8.2%. In urban areas, it is 9.8%, and in rural areas, it is 7.4%. That means unemployment rate has declined significantly. However, we can say that the data provided by the CMI may not reflect the true picture of the Indian business world. In this context, we can mention one study conducted by Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, FICCI. FICCI has conducted one study in the year 2020 on the basis of 380 big companies across the sectors. Now let us consider the major findings of this study. Number one, this study reveals that there has been a tremendous uncertainty in the Indian business environment during this pandemic situation. COVID-19 is having deep impact on Indian businesses. Number two, this study also reveals that 72% of the sample companies have been placed in the category of very high level of risk. Another important outcome of this study is that 70% of the sample companies were expecting a degrowth that means a negative growth in their sales turnover during the financial year 2020-21. As a result, size of business or scale of operation went down significantly in the financial year 2020-21. In this context, we can mention the names of some significant companies like L&T, Tata Motors, Ultratech Cement, and many companies belonging to the FMCG sectors, including Hindustan Unilever, Nirma, even Maharatna Central Public Sector Enterprise. Well, all have downsized their business operations during the financial year 2020-21. Another significant outcome of the study is that 61% of the sample companies have postponed their expansion program for a period of 6 months to 12 months, and 33% of the sample companies have postponed their expansion program for a period of more than 12 months. That means 94% of the sample companies have postponed their expansion program due to this COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. Another notable outcome of the study is that 60% of the sample companies have postponed their fundraising plan for a period of 6 months to 12 months, and 25% of the sample companies have postponed their fundraising plan for a period of more than 1 year. That means 85% of the sample companies have postponed their fundraising plan due to this COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. So on the basis of the outcomes derived from the study, it can be said that India's business sector has been facing immense threats emanated from COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. Now let us consider some additional information in this respect. More than 6,600 Indian companies have legal linkages with companies in countries with a large number of confirmed COVID-19 cases. That means more than 6,600 Indian companies have legal linkages with those foreign companies which are situated in such countries where the outbreak of COVID-19 is severe. In this context, we can cite the example of China. We all know that there is a very close association between India and China in respect of international trade. And we also know that China is the world's largest exporter. It accounts for about 13% of the world export. And China is the second largest importer in the world. It accounts for about 11% of the world's imports. China accounts for about 13% of the world exports. And out of this 13%, 5% comes to India. In fact, China contributes more than 14% of the India's total imports. More specifically, we can mention that 45% of the India's total electronics imports come from China. 33% of the India's total machinery imports come from China. 40% of the India's total organic chemical imports come from China. And in case of fertilizer and automotive parts, this is more than 25%. 70% of the India's total pharmaceutical ingredients imports come from China. And in case of mobile phone, this is more than 90%. Now, if we consider India's airline services, we find the same picture. Except Central Public Sector Enterprise, Air India, all other players belonging to the private sector largely depend on Chinese players. They are taking their aircrafts from Chinese players. So all these industries have been highly affected by COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. So we can say that the situation is alarming. So we all know that there is a close association between large-scale industries and micro, small, and medium enterprises. That means MSME sectors. They are interrelated and interdependent. The large-scale industries largely depend on the supply made by MSME sectors, and MSME sectors largely depends on the demand of the large-scale industries. So they are interrelated and interdependent. It is also to be noted that MSME sector contributes more than 30% of the India's GDP, and MSME sector generally follows a growth rate of at least 10% per annum. Another important point regarding India's MSME sector is that 45% of the India's total exports are contributed by MSME sectors. So MSME sectors plays a very vital role in Indian business world. Due to this COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown, both large-scale industries and MSME sectors have been severely affected. Now let us consider some important information regarding India's economy. As per the projection made by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in the month of April 2020, it was expected that India's GDP growth rate would be 1.9% in the financial year 2020-21. Similarly, as per the projection made by the United Nations, in the month of April 2020, it was expected that India's GDP growth rate would be 1.2% in the financial year 2020-21. However, as per the statement made by RBI Governor, Mr. Shaktikant Das, in the first week of June 2020, India was expecting a degrowth, that means a negative growth in its GDP in the financial year 2020-21. And as per the projection made by the International Monetary Fund in the month of June 2020, it was also expected that India's GDP growth rate would be minus 1.5% in the financial year 2020-21. So these were expectations, these were anticipation, but the actual scenario was more alarming. If we go through the report published by National Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Government of India, we find that the India's GDP growth rate in the first quarter of the financial year 2020-21 was minus 23.9%, whereas it was plus 5.2% in the first quarter of the financial year 2019-20. India's GDP growth rate became positive in the third quarter of the financial year 2020-21, and it was 0.4% in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter it became 1.6%. It became 1.6% in the fourth quarter of the financial year 2020-21. Overall, India's GDP growth rate in the financial year 2020-21 was minus 7.3%. As per the, however, the situation has improved considerably. As per the report published by Monetary Policy Committee of RBI on 4th June 2021, it is expected that India's GDP growth rate would be India's GDP growth rate would be 9.5% in the current year, that means in the financial year 2021-22. And just before 2 or 3 days ago, we find that India's GDP growth rate in the first quarter of the current financial year, that means the financial year 2020-21, is 20.1%. But it is to be kept in mind that the base is low. That's why this 20.1% is not at all satisfactory. So on the basis of this, it can be said that India's economy has been facing immense threats emanated from COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. And on the basis of this, it can be said that India's business sector has been facing immense challenges stemmed from such COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent lockdown. Now, what are the reasons behind it? We all know that there are 4 basic components of GDP: personal consumption expenditure, business investment, government spending, and net export. And we also know that personal consumption expenditure is the biggest components of GDP. On an average, personal consumption expenditure contributes about 60% of the India's GDP. Now, if we consider all these four components one by one in the context of the present day situation, we can understand the reasons more clearly. If we consider the net export, that means the excess of exports over import, we find that there has been a drastic fall in both exports and imports activities in India during this pandemic situation. Now, if we consider the figures relating to the month of March 2020, we find that out of 30 major items, both exports and imports of 29 items have reduced significantly. In the month of May, the situation improved slightly. Out of 30 major items, both exports and imports of 26 items have reduced significantly in the month of May 2020 as compared to the figures of March 2020. On an average, India's exports have reduced by about 37% in the month of May 2020. And in case of imports, these figures vary from 45% to 98%. Machinery imports reduced by about 45%. Gold and jewelry imports declined by about 98%. And even crude oil imports reduced by more than 70% in the month of May 2020. The situation has not improved significantly now, still now, because if we consider the CMI report, we find that the trade balance, which was 11.64 US dollar in the first quarter of the financial year 2020-21, now in the first quarter of the current financial year, that is the financial year 2020-21, it has become minus 8.94. So the situation has not improved. If we consider government spending, we find that the government is paying salary only. And in many cases, salary has been cut. There is no new business investment. So obviously, India's GDP will almost entirely depend on personal consumption expenditure in near future. According to the principles followed in economics, if personal consumption expenditure goes up, real sector growth rate increases. And if real sector growth rate increases, employment steps up. If employment increases, income increases. And if income increases, demand goes up. That means purchasing power or spending power goes up. However, in the present day situation, we find exactly the reverse picture. There has been a drastic fall in the personal consumption expenditure during this pandemic situation. Personal consumption expenditure has reduced by about 20% in the month of March 2020 as compared to the figures of December 2019. And in subsequent months, either it has reduced or fluctuated widely. As a result, real sector growth rate has declined, employment has reduced, income has reduced, and ultimately demand has gone down. Internal supply chain as well as global supply chain have been severely disrupted during this pandemic situation. Now, what is the way out? What are the measures that are to be adopted in order to combat this situation? We can say that we are not in a position to make final conclusion. We are not in a position to make final prescription. Even we are not in a position to identify the exact measures which are to be adopted in order to combat this situation. But we can mention at least two major points, at least two important measures which may be adopted in order to combat this situation. The first one is that public distribution system should be efficiently managed. Now, question may arise whether there is any relationship between public distribution system and the Indian businesses. I must say that yes, there is a positive relationship between the strength of public distribution system and the success of Indian businesses. Because we all can say that if public distribution system runs properly, then only people will get adequate amount of food grains as well as other essential commodities. And if it happens, then people will be in a position to spend some money for acquisition of non-essential commodities also. As a result, personal consumption expenditure will go up and ultimately demand will go up. So there is on the basis of this, it can be said that there is a positive relationship between the strength of public distribution system and the success of Indian businesses. However, public distribution system is not running properly in India due to certain causes. In this context, we can mention at least 2 points. The first one is lack of information. Government does not have adequate information about the needs of the people, especially people living in the rural areas, people living in the remote villages. As a result, proper distribution of essential commodities cannot be made. Unequal distribution of essential commodities will arise. Secondly, high level of corruption is involved in the public distribution system in India because huge amount of fund is involved in the public distribution system in India. In this context, we can mention 2 points. The first one is that about 80 crore people are the beneficiaries of public distribution system in India. That means 58% of the people in India depend on public distribution system. Secondly, for the financial year 2020-21, fund allocated by the government for providing food subsidy was rupees 1,15,570 crore, rupees 1,15,570 crore, which is about 3.8% of the total estimated expenditure as per budget estimates relating to the fiscal year 2020-21. So huge amount of fund is involved in the public distribution system. That's why high level of corruption is involved in the public distribution system. So if we minimize these odds, that means if we remove this problem, then only public distribution system can be effectively run. Public distribution system can be efficiently managed. Secondly, we can mention the prescription of renowned economist, Professor Abhijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay. According to the prescription of Professor Abhijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay, print currency notes and distribute these currency notes among needy people without considering the issues associated with inflation. It has already been done successfully in USA, Japan, even in Australia. According to his argument, if people get money, consumption expenditure will go up. As a result, real sector growth rate will increase, employment will step up, income will increase, and ultimately demand will go up. So the prescription of Professor Abhijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay can be adopted in order to combat this situation. In this context, we can also mention the names of some eminent personalities. We can mention the name of famous economist, Professor Raghuram Rajan, ex-governor of RBI. We can also mention the name of famous Marxist economist, Professor Prabhat Pattanaik of JNU. We can mention the name of CII president, Mr. Uday Kotak. All have made the same recommendations. So we can say that the eminent personalities from different fields, eminent personalities belonging to different ideologies have made the same recommendations. They have given the same opinion as prescribed by Professor Abhijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay. So the prescription of Professor Abhijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay can be implemented in order to combat this situation. However, it has a negative side also. Presently, the confidence level of people has gone down significantly. People are not in a position to predict what will happen in near future. That's why their confidence level has gone down significantly. In this context, we can mention one survey conducted by RBI in the month of May 2020. As per RBI survey report, future expectation index in India in the month of May 2020 was 97.9. In fact, a score below 100 indicates consumers' pessimism. As the future expectation index was 97.9 in the month of May 2020, it indicates that the consumers were pessimists. They were not optimists. Presently, we can say that the situation has not improved significantly. Only in the month of similar surveys have been conducted by RBI from time to time. As per the RBI survey report, future expectation index in the month of January 2021 was 117.1. That means the situation improved significantly in the month of January 2021. But again, the situation has started to deteriorate in the month of March 2021, and it became 108.8. And in May 2021, future expectation index in India was 96.4, 96.4, which is lower than the future expectation index in May 2020. So the situation has, however, we can say that in the month of July, it has become 104, but the situation has not improved significantly. So that means the confidence level of people in India has not improved significantly. So if the confidence level of people does not improve, notably, we can say that the people will not spend money received by them for their present consumption. In that case, people will save money for their future consumption. And if it happens, then money will not come back to the market. As a result, personal consumption expenditure will not go up, and ultimately demand will not go up. So in our discussion, we have been mentioning only the negative side, only the odds. Now we have to mention one positive side, one hope. So let us consider the one silver lining behind the corona cloud. We have already mentioned that China is the largest exporter in the world, and China is also the second largest importer in the world after USA. So China plays a very vital role in international market. Now it is expected that China may not be able to retain its shares in the international market in near future due to this COVID-19 outbreak. Because we all know that COVID-19 was first reported in China on 17th November 2019, and it has a severe negative impact on Chinese economy. The first outbreak of COVID-19 in China has definitely hampered the goodwill and reputation of China in the world market. As a result, China may not be able to retain its shares in the international market in near future. And if it happens, that means if China is not able to retain its dominance over the international market, foreign capital may come to India. Why? Because India enjoys certain competitive advantages. India enjoys certain benefits. In this context, we can mention at least 3 points. The first one is that India enjoys demographic advantages. About 60% of the people in India belong to the age group of 20 to 35 years. That means India has sufficient cheap labor force. Secondly, India has adequate number of skilled IT personnel. And thirdly, the political stability in India is much higher as compared to other neighboring countries. In this context, we can also mention the World Bank's ease of doing business ranking. As per the World Bank's ease of doing business ranking, India captured 142nd rank in the year 2014 out of 190 countries in the world. In 2015, India's rank was 131. In both 2016 and 17, India's rank was 130. In 2018, India made a significant improvement in its status and reached 77th rank. And in October 2019, just before the outbreak of COVID-19, India's rank was 63. So with the passage of time, India has been improving its status in respect of ease of doing business. So on the basis of this, it can be said that foreign capital may come to India. And if foreign capital comes to India, then it is expected that India's business sector will do better in near future. So this is our expectation, this is our anticipation, this is our prediction. We all know that the success of any prediction or projection depends on certain factors. Today, before concluding my discussion, I have to mention one very important factor, one vital factor, which is very much necessary in Indian, especially in the context of India. In this context, we can mention the name of famous social and political theorist, Professor John Elster, Professor of Political Science, Columbia University. And we must mention his classic entitled The Cement of Society, a Study of Social Order. According to his famous book, any prediction or any projection can be successfully achieved if proper cooperation is there. That means if proper cooperation among the stakeholders, namely the bureaucrats, administrators, political personalities is present in Indian economy, then only this prediction can be successfully achieved. In this context, we can also mention the name of famous British-born economic geographer and distinguished professor of anthropology and geography at the City University of New York, Professor David Harvey. Professor David Harvey has given emphasis on collective efforts and collective response in order to combat the situation arising out of COVID-19 in the global economy. We all know that collective efforts, collective response, and cooperation all are interdependent and interrelated. So again, we can say that if proper cooperation among the stakeholders, among the political personalities, among the administrators is present in Indian economy, then only this prediction can be successfully achieved. And however, there are certain factors which may hamper, which may hurt the strength of cooperation. And these factors, in this context, we can mention at least three factors. The first one is personal ego. Secondly, irregularities and corruptions. And thirdly, irrationalities. All these factors are very much present in Indian economy. So if we minimize the negative impact of these factors, then only we can say that the strength of cooperation will go up. And if strength of cooperation restores, if strength of cooperation enhances, then only this prediction can be successfully achieved. And if it happens, it is expected that India's business sector will do better in the near future. So with this hope, I am concluding my discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskar. Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now, we will take the questions towards the end of the session. Sir, I would just like to tell you that a lot of people have appreciated the talk, and we have a lot of questions in both our YouTube platform as well as in our
Thank you. Thank you.
Zoom platform. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. S.K. Baralsal, Professor, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh, to please deliver this session. Sir, please.
Thank you, Madam. Again, I welcome you all to this platform. Esteemed Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Arka Kumar Das Mahapatra ji, and
Sir, the audio is mute, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Very good morning, good afternoon to all of you again. Esteemed Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Arka Kumar Das Mahapatra ji, and guest of honor, Professor Bansidhar Majhi ji, and other speakers, resource persons present over here, and the audience, those who have joined in this platform. Again, I welcome them to this discussion. My area of discussion will be confined with impact of COVID-19 on corporate governance practices in India. So I will be starting with a very beautiful quote. When the going gets tough, the top gets going. That means when there is a problem, the corporate people work hard to solve the problems of the nation. The Indian corporates faced to learn during this COVID period to handle dynamic risk identification, assessment, and the management scenarios. With the economies affected globally because of this COVID pandemic, there is an obvious crunch in supply of raw materials and components, whereas demand remains constant. With this, if not, I mean to say, it is absolutely breakdown of economic cycle. The security of supply has been compromised due to various reasons, like source of supply being a COVID-19 affected area, and comprehension of spread of the fatal virus in transit since today also. So this has impacted the supply chain and, more crucially, the life cycle of product manufacturing. When we are talking about product manufacturing, I must give some background to this, then we'll again switch over to that, our topic. Indians are one of the 3 biggest startup ecosystem in the world. As Professor Sur was talking about our conducive environment for attracting manufacturers. As on 3rd June 2021, India has about 50,000 startups, and around 9,000 to 10,000 of these startups are very much technology based. And it is our good luck that every day 2 to 3 technological startups are taking birth in our country. Because startup technology companies are considered crucial in regards to innovation, production, growth, and employment. Because of their kind of like this pandemic time, this has been impacted. The startup business also have been impacted. And COVID-19 pandemic has impacted not only startup, not only human, but significantly, it has got a very wide impact on commercial activities. And the current context requires the companies to access the immediate health, social, and economic factor for their immediate survival. So how, without losing the grip on their long-term prospects, if at all, the ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues, that these 3 terms, among these 3 terms, G is known as very important, is governance. So environment is somehow many attributes are there, and social factors are there. Apart from that, governance plays a very important role that we are going to discuss today. So the COVID-19 pandemic is another unforeseen milestone, and he had this period has already been forced to shift the corporate governance landscape. The landscape has already been changed. One where It is no longer sufficient for a company to simply meet the legal obligations. There are so many things are there. So now the corporate, they need to adapt the changes. Change adaptability is the vital and very important call for the present need of hour. And the good news for us is that most of the companies are in India are actually aware of this. And many have already indicated their intention to repay kind of like through government schemes, and they are playing they are trying to meet the challenges. These challenges created by pandemics are unlikely to disappear anytime soon, but we are not sure. We are expecting that many other variants are coming. In fact, the pandemic has accelerated many existing trends, and companies need to embrace this kind of shifts. Because how to minimize the impact of pandemic on a business, its performance results, and most importantly, on employees. These are the main issue concern for every corporate leader nowadays. Because when we are talking about that there is essential commercial risks for corporate governance practices in India is existing, and by impacting on business operations due to disruption to meetings, dividend, liquidity, disclosure, capital allocation, risk management, and internal controls, regulations, all those things allows company to convert themselves and to conduct a hybrid kind of like communication through different meetings. So it has compelled companies to set up on building their technology infrastructure appropriately, looking into the situation. And because you see, government has initiated during this pandemic period, government has initiated relief measures during under Companies Act 2013 and LLP Act, Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008, and the relaxation from compliance with the provision of SEBI is LODR is listing obligations and disclosure requirements. So under this, it was enacted to provide the establishment of a board to protect the interest of the investors in securities and to promote the development and to regulate the security market. And it has become a very big concern. It was a challenge for the corporate houses. Major initiative in contribution for this COVID-19 is eligible for CSR activities and introduction of scheme of companies fresh start and revised LLP settlement. That limited liability partnership settlement is one-time relaxation provided by the government, filing statutory documents within the required due dates without any fine. And the LLPs which opt for this scheme shall not be required to pay additional fees to provide this opportunity, which made the corporate the practices very conducive. So it was a very cleanly slated by the government. So this kind of environment and the time we face are trying, it is unprecedented and very obvious by absolute uncertainty. So the situation at hand is extraordinary, and the speed with which the pandemic is spreading and its huge opportunities has got impact on every aspect of human civilization, and we are speechless, not only speechless, also motionless. Lockdown, shutdown, it was there. So this is one event that as fundamental kind of things we experimented recently, and far-reaching impact on where the business conduct themselves. So now the corporates, they have planned to implement some new models into business, because you see, work from home and curfew will be there, lockdown will be there throughout the nation, through and different cities and continents, because you see, we are very much dependent upon many aspects. So this forced the corporate world to develop a new model. So various models they have developed to face this situation. And while the economy has taken a fall, very rightly, Professor Sur was talking, while the economy has taken a fall, the bears are pulling down the stock market deeper by the hours, and even it is like it has created a business threatened. And the real mantra for the corporate would be to stand by its conviction of purpose and very wisely sustainability. And it is for the board of the directors of any company, of any commercial house or any corporate, to lead from the front in such crisis and provide leadership with utmost and in a very self-confidence to survive in the tough times, because they are the leaders. And the rapid kind of like this outbreak of coronavirus presents an alarming health crisis that the world is grappling with. And in addition to the human impact, there is also a significant impact felt globally. And as the virus no borders, the impact will continue to spread. With this rapid developing new situation, we are still in the premature stage of understanding the impact of COVID-19, and we will have, and we do not know, and whether this will continue for another 1 year or 1.5 years, or what will be the situation. Based on that, our corporate leaders are very efficient to handle this situation, because I am telling you a fact that 94% of Fortune 1000 companies is already seeing COVID-19 disruptions. And COVID-19 pandemic come with inherent commercial risk, as I was telling, and it has got a strong impact on business operation due to disruption of meetings. There are several meetings being conducted by corporates like AGM, EGM, BOD meetings, Board of Directors meeting, and NCLT meeting, like National Company Law Tribunals meeting. These are the regular meetings. And the administration, day-to-day administration, business continuity, dividend and liquidity management, disclosure, capital allocation and maintenance, and risk management, internal control. So many things are very much, I mean to say, these are the kind of like areas to be taken into account. And it is also imperative that the directors and managers of any organization are very much proactive. We have seen during these pandemics, and ensuring the appropriate strategies that helps to put in place to anticipate and to mitigate the gap and ensure the compliance with their duty and legal obligations. Because I would like to highlight one point over here, is India's economy grew by 20% during April-June quarter of this financial year, as against 24% contraction seen during the same period last year. The construction section, GVA, is gross value added was 68% higher than previous years. And the services sector grew at 3.7% from the last year-ago period, and in this quarter, India's economy has gone down and grown also by 1.6%. So it is a very good sign that a country like us, we can face all those crises because of our corporate leaders, because of our startup programs being facilitated and supported by the government. And it's the duty of the board of the organization to understand as the Indian government has initiated various relief measures under Companies Act, different Companies Act, because Liability Act is there, Limited Liability Partnership Act is there 2008, and Companies Act 2013. Under this act, relief measures were announced for compliance certain provisions, as I told. And apart from that, major two important announcement also being done by the government, like Companies Fresh Start Scheme 2020. It is a new scheme, and LLP settlement scheme has given a kind of like input to the companies, startup business, because startup business is the new gift of recent time period. It is a new type of business centered around innovation and also aggregation. Both startup as a business have caught the attention of a new young generation budding with innovative ideas. So that is why Government of India, as regards Startup India as well as Stand Up India, call given to the entrepreneurs, and in pursuant to the India's goal to becoming the world's $5th trillion economy, the role of this corporate governance practices, the role of corporate is very high. That is why the corporate tax has been reduced recently by the Government of India to attract many manufacturers. And the country has already supplied raw talents which await development expansion and integration also with expanding human resources pool, because India is the youngest country. Next 15 years, India is going to supply the workforce not below 25% to the world. So this is the beauty of this our dividend, human resource dividend. And India here has got a huge economic potential. And before completion of my deliberation, I should tell that because of this highly competitive business world, the industry dynamics are highly complex now. And in current times, every business has a global impact, and developing new skill set to meet the new expectations are a must. So I feel that the governance, the corporate governance, and the legal compliances certainly will never become a problem for taking the initiation by the corporate leaders to revamp the economic benefits to the country and globally. This kind of like pandemics, certainly in a fine morning, we'll expect that this will vanish. And apart from this also, we have got a tremendous achievement in startup business as well as in doing corporate governance practices during this pandemic period. Thank you very much. With this, I make full stop on my deliberation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very like informative to all of us and educative also. We have a lot of questions in our chat box, both from Zoom as well as YouTube platform, that we will take up after the two esteemed speakers finish their session. Thank you so much for speaking on impact of COVID-19 on corporate governance practices in India. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Pavnesh Kumar, sir, Dean Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya School of Commerce and Management Sciences, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, to please initiate the session on impact of COVID-19 pandemic of India MSME sector. Thank you, sir. Sir, please.
Madam, my voice is audible?
Yes, sir, it's very clear.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so my slides are visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's visible. If we can do it in the full screen mode, sir, it will be.
Okay. Excuse me, ma'am, there is some problem from my side.
Okay, no problem, sir. Now also it is clearly visible, sir. We can start the session.
So can we start the session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Prasanna, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Odisha State Open University, Professor A.K. Mohapatra, sir, Chief Guest of this one-day national webinar on 2019 COVID and Intricacies of Indian Business. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Veer Sundar Sai University of Technology, Professor Bansidhar Banji, sir, Guest of Honor, eminent speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of my presentation today will be the impact of COVID-19 on small, medium and small enterprises. So I will be throwing my thoughts on what was the impact of COVID-19 on medium and small enterprises, number one. And number two, I would also like to discuss about the agriculture sector, because agriculture sector is the supplier of the raw material to the MSME sector and to the large enterprises too. Okay. So medium and small enterprises are the backbone of resilient Indian economy, resilient national economy. And during 2019 and 20, the growth of the MSME sector was CAGR growth rate was 18%. So from this, I would like to start my presentation that medium and small enterprises are the backbone of the Indian economy. These are the changes which we can see in the business environment nowadays. Number one is that digital has replaced the brick and mortar model. Number two, the digital solutions, they are not only limited to millennials, but for everyone across the value chain. So digital solutions are not only limited to millennials. Number third is working has become more virtual, and MSMEs and agriculture must adapt accordingly. So these are the business environment changes which we will see. There is a rise of on-demand supply chains, and industries are changing their course of actions. So these are the changes which we are observing in the business environment nowadays. So the biggest change is that the digital platforms, digital structures are going to replace the brick and mortar model. Next, what is the importance of medium and small enterprises sector in Indian economy? Number one is that it is creating a large scale of employment. Why? Because India is producing about 1.2 million graduates per year, and it is not possible for the formal sector or the government sector to absorb these graduates. So there is no economy that can provide that large number of freshers in 1 year only throughout the world. But MSME is a boon for the fresh talent in India, because there are various schemes, government schemes like Startup India, Stand Up India schemes, there is Mudra scheme. So the MSME sector can create wonders, especially for the young graduates. Number two, economic stability in terms of growth and leverage exports. So right now, if you talk about the export in India, at least 40 to 45% of the total exports is from the MSME sector, and MSME is right now contributing 30% of the India's GDP, and the government of India is envisioning 50% to increase it up to the 50%, and to create 50 million new jobs. So this has the potential of the MSME sector. Number three, it encourages inclusive growth, because MSME employs people from wide geographic and demographics. And the estimated number of workers in unincorporated non-agriculture MSMEs in the country is around 11 crore. So because MSME do engage the unskilled laborers, they also engage the semi-skilled laborers, so it encourages the inclusive growth. We know that the education is still, skill development has not reached to the bottom of the pyramid, so the non-skilled labor also gets a major chunk in the employment generated through MSMEs. Now next is the MSMEs have simple management structure for enterprises. The simplicity of the organizational structure of the MSMEs makes it the choice of upcoming entrepreneurs. Okay, and last one is the main role in the mission of Make in India. So the Make in India concept, you know, earlier it was Made in India, now it is Make in India, which is initiated in the 2014 by the present regime. The initiative by the Prime Minister of India, Make in India, has been made easy with MSME. So it is taken as a backbone, making this dream a possibility. So the MSME sector has a potential to realize the dream of the Make in India, which has been envisioned by the government of India. Now let us see what are the issues which are faced by the MSME sectors in India. Number one is the credit conundrum. The formal credit available to the sector is around 16 trillion. The viable credit gap is 20 trillion against the total demand of 36 trillion. The main thing is that as far as the financing of the medium and small enterprises is concerned, typically they depends on the non-banking finance companies and micro financial institutions for their financial needs. And the banking sector, the formal banking sector, is not so much, you can say, interested in this sector. So with the NBFC sector enduring a liquidity crunch because the NBFC sector is already facing the liquidity crunch since September 2018. MSMEs were hard pressed for money because they are facing the financing problems. The biggest problem for the MSMEs is the credit crunch. Number two, the lack of formalization amongst MSMEs. Almost 86% of the manufacturing MSMEs operating in the country are unregistered. This is the matter of concern. And even today, out of 6.3 crore MSMEs, only about 1.1 crore are registered with the GST regime, and the number of income tax filers are even less. As a result, Indian MSMEs requirement has largely unmet due to the limited availability and access to date and legacy underwriting methods. So if we analyze out of the percentage of the micro enterprises, out of 6.3 crore MSMEs, it is near about 93%. For small, it is small enterprises, it is 6%, and only 1% is medium enterprises. Friends, this statistics is very important, because the numbers 6.3 crore represents 93% of the micro enterprises, and only 1% are medium enterprises. We will discuss later on what is the criteria of deciding the medium and small enterprises. There is technological disruptions. These are the issues which are faced by the MSME sector in India, because in Industrial Revolution 4.0, where artificial intelligence, data analytics, and robotics and related technologies has become important, it is a bigger challenge for MSMEs than for organized large-scale manufacturing. These technological disruptions are also faced by the MSME sector. Now, as far as the problem, there is a problem of scale, means economies of scale problem is there in the MSME sector, because the MSME space is virtual, a micro space formed by a plethora of small and local shops, and hence scaling them up is a problem. Economies of scale is a problem because MSMEs they operate at the smaller level, so it is very difficult to face the competition at the global level, as far as the pricing is concerned, as far as the production is concerned. As far as the regulatory cholesterol is concerned, means there is lot of regulatory restrictions there, getting construction permits, enforcing contracts, paying taxes, starting business and trading across borders. These are all constraints which are basically faced by the MSME sector in India. So these are the bigger challenges for the MSME sector. Now, let us see what are the relief measures which the government of India has taken, central government has taken for the MSME sector from the last 2 years, when the coronavirus, the COVID-19 entered into India, and it is declared as the pandemic now. So the definition level of the medium and small enterprises has been changed by the government of India recently. That is, for micro enterprises, it is 1 crore of investment and 5 crore of turnover. For small enterprises, it is 10 crore of investment and 50 crore of turnover. And for medium enterprises, it is 50 crore of investment and 250 crore rupees of turnover. So government of India has recently in 2020 has changed the definition of medium and small enterprises. We have already discussed that there are various measures which has been taken in the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme for fulfilling the credit requirements of there are various credit guarantee schemes under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which has been declared by this present regime in 2020. Okay, they have created a funds for equity participation. Recently, there is a relief in the non-NPAs, and some dues have been cleared by the government of India, and in many sectors the government of India has disallowed the global tenders, and thus creating an opportunity for the MSME sector. Now, coming to what are the way forward for MSMEs in India. Number one, these are the way forward. Number one, it is the time to develop the bond market, because we know that the cost of capital, weighted average cost of capital of procuring funds from the NBFCs and MFIs is very high. So it is the need of hour to develop the bond market, because if the bond market is developed, especially for the small and medium enterprises, WACC, which is also known as weighted average cost of capital, will be reduced, because will be an other option for procuring the funds from the market. Number two, that we can create an independent regulator. Friends, I would like to share one information here. As far as the MSME ministry is concerned, there are 5 statutory bodies which are operating. Number one is KVIC, Khadi Village Industries Commission. Quiet Board is there. Number 2, NSIC is there. NIMSME is there, and MGIRI is there, Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Rural Industrialization. So there are 5 statutory bodies under the MSME ministries, which are basically deciding the rules and regulations and all that for the MSME sector. So there is a need of our to create an independent regulator, because given the growing importance of the data economy, it is paramount that the government creates an independent body which can provide consultancy to MSMEs and enable them to win in this new digital world. Because I have already discussed that the digitalization, the industry 4.0 is one of the biggest challenge for the MSME sector. So next is that the labor laws need to be reformed, and we know that the government of India has recently introduced the 4 codes in the as far as the labor laws is concerned, and I hope that from the 1st of October it will be applicable. As far as the news coming, it will be applicable. It will make labor laws more flexible, and there may be discussions whether they have advantages or they have merits or demerits, but let us see once it is implemented what happens. So labor laws are not very conducive to MSME's growth. They must strike the right balance between the providing a growth-oriented framework for MSMEs to run in and provide sufficient protection for the right of workers. Means there should be a good balance. There should be a good a balance between the taking into account the interest of the entrepreneur also and interest of the laborers also. Okay. Next, improving regulation. So ease of doing business. We know that the government, the Indian ranking as far as the ease of doing business is concerned is improving year by year. So this should be the focus area of the government, because as we move towards the ease of doing business, we make our processes simple. It promotes the young entrepreneurs to establish the MSMEs. Okay, the reporting, approval, and compliance requirement for small and medium enterprises continue to border on the higher side. So there are various compliances which makes the work tedious for the young entrepreneurs. So there need to be improvement in the regulation area, regulatory areas also. Next, as which I have already discussed, that the agriculture sector, we cannot ignore the agriculture sector if we are discussing about the MSME sector, because agriculture sector also implies the large chunk of population in India, and agriculture sector is very closely related with the MSME sector because it provides the raw material to this sector, and the MSME sector is totally dependent on the agriculture. So this is the impact of number one impact on the agriculture production. During the pandemic, if you talk about the all India level, agriculture production was adversely affected by the impact of COVID-19. Production in the allied sector means is declined. Like in poultry sector, it was minus 19.5%. In fisheries sector, it was minus 13.6%. In livestock sector, it is minus 8.5% due to demand impact. Okay, and if dairy is concerned, it was minus 6.6%, horticulture minus 7.7%. These subsectors are also reduced during the corona pandemic. Okay, if we consider about the impact on the availability of price of agriculture inputs, because due to the restrictions imposed by availability of agri inputs, that is seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, they have declined. You can see the data on my slides. It is minus 9.2% for the seeds, minus 11.2% for the fertilizers. For pesticides is what it was minus 9.8%. They have declined, and due to disruption of the supply chain, we know that there was lockdown, and still it is continuing in many states. Due to lockdown, there was disruption in the supply chain, and prices of agriculture inputs have increased, like seeds 8.8%, fertilizers 10%, pesticides 9%, fodder 11.6%, and it was between the range of 9 to 12%. As far as impact on farm gate prices is concerned, this was mainly due to the fact that the shutting down of the major sectors of the economy, the demand for these commodities has also dried up due to lack of transportation, shutting down of rural hearts. Because during pandemic, it was not possible because gathering was not allowed. So rural hearts and markets have been shut down, shops have been shut down, which led to a decrease in prices across many districts of the country. And widespread decline was reported in overall prices of commodity in agriculture and allied sector. And ultimately, it has affected the farmers in India, who are basically the supplier of food to those who are living in the urban area like us. So impact on demand and supply of rural labor was also because we have seen that there was reverse migration during the pandemic. This pandemic and subsequent lockdown imposed to curb its impact, spread and had a significant impact on the supply and demand of wages of agri labor at all India level. So this reverse migration the country has witnessed during the corona pandemic, and they have these migrant laborers, they have been attempting to return back to their native places, and this has basically affected the labor wages in the rural areas also, because ultimately there was a shoot up of labor supply in the rural areas, and the prices of the labor rates have declined significantly. And it has also created this pandemic has also created an impact on the agriculture markets, because even though the local procurement centers were opened by various state governments under their jurisdiction, yet restrictions on movement of vehicles had adversely impacted smooth operation of agriculture marketing through mandis. Okay, so there was also impact on financial services supporting agriculture, because as far as the banking services are concerned, access to the credit lending and Kisan credit card was adversely impacted. So these are various impact of pandemic on the agriculture sector, on the agriculture production, on the agri prices, on the farm gate prices, on the demand and supply of labors and all these. Okay, next, how we can make our agriculture resilient, building of resilience in agriculture for future. How can we make our agriculture a profitable venture? Number one, developing diversified revenue streams where applicable. We need to develop the diversified revenue streams. We need to implement climate smart agriculture practices in the rural areas, in the agriculture sector. We need to improve access to the financial products such as bank accounts and crop insurance. And I would like to appreciate the Jan Dhan Yojana for this, which was introduced by the government. It is a huge success. Mudra scheme, it is a very good scheme, even though a lot of studies need to be conducted whether it has created an impact or not, because Mudra scheme has given employment. This scheme has basically boosted the entrepreneurial activities not only in the tribal areas, in other areas too. So improving access to financial, and I hope that because of the consolidation of the banking sector in the times to come, we may observe the consolidation in the next 1 to 2 years. The big banks will be there. Let us see whether the bank branches increases in India or not. But and crop insurance schemes have been introduced by the government. So if it is improved, we think we may expect that the agriculture will boom like anything. Okay, expanding access to weather, climate and market information. This is very important, because almost the farmers have they have access. I'm not talking about all the farmers, but the farmers in the rural areas, because of the net connectivity, they have smartphones. If we can expand if the government of India can take some initiative and provide them the information related to the weather, climate and market information, it will be beneficial for the agriculture sector. And closing gender gaps in access to information, productive resources in markets, and strengthening women's economic empowerment. Since a lot of women are engaged in the agriculture sector in India, they need to be empowered, because we cannot think of making India self-reliant. We cannot think India becoming Atmanirbhar without the involvement of the 50% of the population, that is the woman. Okay, now what are the policy level changes in agriculture? If we discuss about the Farm Bill 2020, lot of agitations are going on. I'm not going to the farmer protest is going on, but I will discuss about maybe there may be some pros and cons there in the Farm Bill 2020, but let us see what are the gains for farmers in this. So there will be no district level mandi charges. There will be these are the gain for the farmers. There will be quicker expansion and scalability. Procurement centers will be very close to the farmers. It will enable the farmers digitalization. As far as the gains for the businesses are concerned, they can directly buy from the farmers from across the regions. There will be no intermediaries, middlemen will be reduced, and the license Raj, which we used to say, the license Raj, that is agri produce market committees, which are known as APMCs, which nowadays are acting as a bottlenecks. They will be removed from and gain for employment generation, because connecting agri businesses and large buyers to the farm gates will create more and more employment, and investment in agri warehouses and cold chains will increase, which will generate employment for the rural strata even, and opportunities in the contracts and farm advisory and consultancy will increase. Let us see what are the managing, how we can manage business continuity and finance during the post COVID-19. This is applicable to the MSME sector also. It is a matrix where the COVID impact has high impact, high liquidity, and low impact, low liquidity. We can reposition, closely monitor and reduce the cost, reassess product service portfolio for short-term gains to strengthen the top line, that is sales. Reforecast cash flows and model downside scenarios. We can reposition. There may be turnaround planning may be done, optimizing working capital, right sizing of the cost structure. We can focus on the assessment of your operations, demand and impact of lockdown. We can strengthen our position, that is assess and manage. Hello, my voice is audible, ma'am? Hello, is my voice is audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Audible, sir.
Okay, strengthening position, we can strengthen position if we have high liquidity and low impact is there. If now, how fast can business respond and recover? As far as the COVID-19 impact on business continuity is concerned, it has overall reduced business operations in the terms of sales and production. There was liquidity issues. There was a risk of covenant breach. There were refinancing needs. So there are different solutions which are available to handle all intensities of crisis impact. Number one, as far as the turnaround and financial restructuring we can do with the potential solutions of distressed merger and acquisitions, we can go for refinancing, we can go for right sizing, we can go for debt for equity SEPs, because we know that nowadays the cost of debt is increasing. Cost of debt is increasing in the in this pandemic, and the organizations they are unable to service their interest on debts. So debt for equity swap may be one of the solution for turnaround and financial restructuring. As far as the insolvency is concerned, if there is no prospect of an out of court recovery process, a company is placed in a formal insolvency or bankruptcy processes, we have potential solutions of, we can go for liquidations, we can go for distressed merger and acquisitions and wind down. Now, how increasing competitive business reliance post pandemic, how the MSME sector can increase their competitive business resilience in the post COVID world. Number one, new digital experiences, products and services in response to changes in customer behaviors and needs. We need to use the new digital platforms. We used to introduce the new you can say digital structures in our organizations. If we want to increase our competitiveness, we can go for new partnerships both within and outside of the industry. These collaborations are going to be the success mantras for the MSME sectors in times to come. And supply chain and operating model adjustment to manage risk. We need to adjust the supply chains and operating models in order to make our business viable. Sales model changes need to be there. The old model is not going to work. Faster product development through more rapid iteration. We need to involve in the product engineering. We need to introduce research and development innovations in our organization as fast as we can, because we need to respond to the changes in the customer behavior and their needs. As far as how we can increase the competitive strategic reliance post pandemic, we need to set the bold aspirations, create a hedge portfolio of big moves. We need to adapt a strategy dynamically and develop scenarios, not forecast. This is very important. The forecasting is not going to work. We need to develop various scenarios, and these are the for MSME sector. If you want to enter into the MSME sector, and for the MSME sector leaders, these are the 7 C's for effective leadership if they want to lead their organization to the pinnacle of the success. Number 1, the leaders need to have compassion. They need to connect with the community. Cash management techniques should be there. They need to enter into the collaborations. They need to have good communication, soft skills, so that they can communicate their decisions and they can take feedback from the lower level management. The leaders need to have confidence, and they overall they need to be very calm if they want to provide leadership in the new normal. Now, these are the organizational design tips for MSMEs, especially MSMEs and the MSMEs working in the agriculture sector too. That is, scale the organizations to current conditions using technology. Okay, this is the this organizational design we can adopt. Expand your information sources, because information is power. Information is power. More information means that you will survive in the market for a longer period of time. So we need to expand our information sources. And most important thing is that there need to be shorten the selling cycles wherever possible, because the operating cycle, the cash cycle, the selling cycles need to be very small, so that we can rotate our cash, and we can convert our cash into sales. Okay, so these are the organizational design tips for the MSMEs. The various startup sectors which are likely to grow post COVID-19, there may be potential MSMEs of future in the area of health and wellness, managed office spaces, pharma, life sciences. There may be some online gaming platforms. There may be e-commerce and delivery-based services where the young population, young entrepreneurs can tap, because the definition of the MSME sector has changed, and for creating the digital platform for all these can be created in the MSME sector also. There may be remote working tools, financial services, NBFCs. So we can create MSMEs in these areas, because these areas are the potential areas where we can create the MSMEs. MSMEs are not only limited to the manufacturing sector. There are many MSMEs which are related to the service sector, and we will see that the MSMEs in the service sector will also increase, because the management graduates, the graduates in the other professional courses, they are more interested in the entrepreneurial ventures nowadays instead of doing job. The mindset of the young population, the mindset of the millennials are changing, so they can tap these opportunities in these various sectors, and they can create their potential MSMEs. So thank you to all of you. This is all from my side. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very insightful, informative, and educative session. We will take the question answers towards the end of the last session. That will be presented by Professor Dr. Amlendu Bhunia, Professor and Dean Faculty of Arts and Commerce, the University of Kalyani, West Bengal. Sir, I would like to invite you to please for the technical session. Sir, please. Professor Amlendu Bhunia.
Thank you very much. And very good afternoon to all of you. Respected Professor Dr. Arkodas Mohapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor and Chief Guest of the National Webinar, Guest of Honor, Professor Maji, and today's speaker starting from Professor Dr. Debashish Sood, Professor S.K. Boral, and Professor Pavnesh Kumar from Bihar. And I would like to talk about, first I want to share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible. But sir, the voice is
Today, voice is not clear.
it's clear, sir, but it's somehow a little slow. Sir, I would request you to please a little make it little faster, sir, because we are encroaching. We have encroached almost all the time. Sir,
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yes, sir.
I would like to talk about impact of COVID-19 pandemic on Indian stock market. And I'm going to the first slide. Background of the particular topic. The rapid spread of the COVID-19, unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic has put the world in danger and changed the global outlook unexpectedly. Consumers and firms have presented their usual consumption patterns due to
Sir, I think sir is having a network problem. So for the timing, I would like to request Shri Khirod Maharana sir to please moderate the session. We can take the question answer session till sir rejoins.
Kirod, I think Professor Monia has already rejoined. Ask him whether he will continue or.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, Professor Bhunia sir, have you rejoined? Can we restart the session?
okay.
Yes, sir.
Again, I have to share my screen. Is it?
So it has just started screen sharing. It's not visible till now.
Just a minute, just a minute.
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Sir, we can continue. Sir.
Okay. The stock market has been conventionally viewed as a leading indicator or a predictor of future economic activity. Stock prices indices are expected to reflect market information, expectation, rational economic activity. Say, for example, stock prices indices are expected to reflect market participant rational information, expectation of discounted future earnings attributable to the investment effect, wealth effect, and consumption effect. Obviously, the quick run-up in the Indian equities is recent months tends to raise concerns over the rational information expectations of market participants. If you consider the March 2020 Sensex result on 23rd March, I think 25th March, the lockdown measures were taken by the central government, and the Sensex was going down to 25,881, and now if you consider that 21 we have crossed over 57,500, and now just yesterday we have crossed 58,000, witnessed more than 110% growth. this trend is very alarming. Alarming, as the country has grappled with the worst health crisis ever, with lower prospects. And Indian equities climbed to record levels amidst the recent bull run with strong recovery expectation, while informally common among investment professionals these days is whether the Indian equity might overvalue on this basis. All the good news among the market movement and the magnitude of the gains in the benchmark benchmark equity indices, say for example, Sensex and Nifty in India, indicates a bull trap in the overvalued market. Next, coming to we have experienced two waves in the COVID-19. In the wave, 40,170, and 23rd March, it was going down to 25,881 because of panic and fear of the investors. And thereafter, it was increased slightly, and up to November, from 23rd March to 30th November 2020, this is considered as a first wave of COVID-19. And if you consider the second wave, February 3, 2021, and 21st March, because we are in the second wave, and if you see the result of the Sensex, just after March and April, it was increased dramatically, and in first week of September, just 3rd September, we have crossed 58,000. Now, what are the reasons? The reasons may be mainly two: herding behavior and a sentiment effect, and the third may be household wealth effect. The herd behavior is just a phenomenon where individuals are collectively act, not using own information. Especially during the crisis we have seen, when irrationally prevails. The negative news about the spread of COVID-19 and the overall negative sentiment affected the investors sentiment, investors psychology, to intense trading behavior in the market, and typically investors' hard behavior can be characterized by the irrational tendency of individuals to follow others and imitate group investors if their private information suggests something different, something investors to hard the market expressed in various forms. Say, for example, in the same direction in as others, following price trends, momentum investing or positive feedback strategies, and imitating other behavior. And the second may come the sentiment effect. Hard behavior in stock market, investors collective cognitive bias called the sentiment. Such high valuations amid the contraction of real GDP growth in India due to the pandemic uncertainties are
Yeah, sir was talking about the stock market, and I think it's raining heavily there. So he's having a
Prasanna, you can start the question and
sir, there is a
This
serious
is
network
perhaps the
issue at
reason.
your end.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
In such a market scenario, to reduce their risk exposure and minimize market uncertainty, investors prefer to join the crowd. Behavioral finance theory suggests that investors tend to echo other investor actions by ignoring their private information due to herding phenomena. Now I am coming to the methodology part. Is it visible, my PPT?
No, sir, since you were disconnected, so the screen sharing option was also not present now. So we have to share your screen again, sir.
Now is it visible? Is it visible?
Not yet, sir. It will be, sir.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Just I'm discussing. We have I have considered two first wave starting from March 23 to the 30th November. BSE Sensex daily closing price of BSE Sensex data I have considered. And in the second wave, I have already mentioned 3rd February to 31st August I have considered. And if you see the result, what I have considered, I have considered the standard deviation of first wave is lower than the second. This indicates the volatility, and then
since it's serious network problem at Bhunya sir's place, so we will take the question answer session now. I would request Kirod Maharana sir to take the question answers.
Again, I am. This is not my problem.
Sir, again, we understand, sir. This is technical glitch. We cannot help it, sir.
This is not
We
my
completely
problem.
understand it, sir.
Oh, okay. Just 5 minutes. First,
Sir,
I have.
till then, can we take the question answer, sir, for 5 minutes?
And within 5 minutes, I will complete my presentation. Please give me 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay, please.
Without sharing the PPT.
Okay,
I
sir.
don't understand what's the problem. Okay.
Okay.
I have considered scaling analysis with using Hertz exponent value, and second volatility, Garch model and E-Garch model. Because the COVID-19 pandemic adversely affect the Indian stock market in the first phase or at the also in the second phase. But our Sensex value has been increased day by day after maintaining the volatility. We have crossed over 58,000 just yesterday, but I have considered Hertz exponent value in the first wave. The Hertz component value in both the cases more than 0.60. And why I have used scaling analysis and Hertz exponent value. Scaling analysis is basically used to measure the long-term or short-term memory of the time series data of the BSE Sensex data. And if the actually the result HEV value, Hurst exponent value must be 0 to 1, 0 to 0.5, more than 0 to 0.5. This indicates that the short memory of the time series data of the Sensex data, if the results are more than 0.5 and near to 10, near to 1, this indicates long run, long memory. And long memory means persistent behavior, and short memory means anti-persistent behavior. But in both the web, the Hurst exponent value is more than 0.5, actually 0.60 in the first wave and 0.61 in the second wave. And this indicates that in both the web, the Indian stock market has a long memory, means persistent behavior. That means the diversification is not limited, and at the same time this is unpredictable behavior because of unconditional variance. And second, I have used Garch model for testing whether there exists in the volatility in the Garch model. I have used Garch 1.1 model, and in Garch model, what I found, in both the web alpha plus beta indicates that the whether there exists any volatility, and in both the web there exists a volatility in the stock market. And again I have used because the Indian stock market is increasing with
Sir was giving a very valuable insight for stock market. The figures are really informative. That will help us. He'll join us in a minute.
last 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, sir. I understand.
An eGarch model, eGarch model shows that there exists a leverage effect in the Indian stock market on the basis of value. That means there exists volatility as well as leverage effect in the Indian stock market, and in the Indian stock market has a long memory or persistent behavior. And the findings of my study indicates that helps to the international investors where to invest and when to invest, because Indian stock market may be overvalued, because our result tells that there exists a long memory, anti-persistent behavior, unpredictable behavior. These may be in any time, it may be reduced, Sensex may be reduced, and therefore at the same time there exists a volatility and there exists a leverage effect, and therefore international investors should be careful, but the diversification is possible, not limited in the Indian stock market. And that is why foreign investors as well as the Indian investors intends to invest the Indian stock market, and that is why Indian stock market, the Sensex value is increasing day by day. But there are some limitation. Just one sentence I would like to mention. I have not used the impact of macroeconomic variables on the Indian stock markets. Which macroeconomic variables actually affect the Indian stock market? This is very important. This may be a future study. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. But because of internet issue, in most of the time my PPT is not visible, and also my voice is breaking. I am so sorry. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir. We understand the technical problem at your end. It happens sometimes, sir. But really, the statistics that you have mentioned is informative for all of us. So we will request you to kindly share your presentation so that we can share it with our participants, registered participants. So now we are finished, done with the technical session. Now I would request Shri Khirod Maharana, sir, to please place the question and answers to our esteemed speaker. Sir, please.
Thank you, madam. Not audible.
Thank you, madam. First of all, I would like to thank all of our eminent speakers today for such a wonderful session. Sir, this session was really informative. I hope all the participants present here must derive immense benefit from this session. And moving towards to the next session, that is question and answer session. We have received a number of questions, sir, but as we are running out of time, we will take a few questions only. Also, many questions are similar in nature, so we have sorted them to minimum. And we are extremely sorry to those participants whose questions we couldn't take up. I am just reading out all these questions. So the first question is for Professor Debashish Sur, sir. The question is, I want to see my country, India, as the largest economy in the globe. So what should be the strategy to achieve this goal?
Actually, it is a very difficult question to answer because all-round development is necessary. So one of the fastest growing, India has become one of the fastest growing economies in the world now. But if it wants to capture the topmost rank, so overall development is necessary. Okay, so in every sector, and it is not very easy task to achieve it.
Sir, another question for you, sir. Hike in the price of petroleum products.
One thing, that is
sure, sir.
That is I have to mention, that is irregularities and corruptions. It should be minimized. It should be minimized. It should be reduced as much as possible. Otherwise, it would not be possible for India to reach the target.
Yes, sir. Sir, another question for you, sir. Hike in the price of petroleum products is a kind of pressure to the public in this, especially in this COVID-19 situation.
Yes, definitely.
Sir, what is your take on this, sir?
Definitely, this issue should be properly addressed by the government. Definitely, it creates problem to the general people.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question for you, sir. Could we think that Atmanirbhar Bharat package boost the Indian economy and Indian towards self-reliant?
Yes, definitely. There are many very good things are there in the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Again, I can say that plan is good, but its implementation is very difficult. And while implementing this package in total, again, we have to say that irregularities and corruptions should be removed, at least should be minimized. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very rightly said. Some more questions for Professor S.K. Baral, sir. Sir, for you, the first question is, what kind of steps to be taken by Government of India for the improvement of the economic sector and livelihood of poor?
You see, it is also a very broad question, because since I am handling this, I was talking about this corporate governance practices. So one is capital management is very much important, because financial prudence is a necessary outcome of the current situation, because this COVID-19 has prompted changes to workshop, to workforces, shareholders experience, and other part. And risk management is also another area to be, including cyber security. And as I told in my presentation, ECG, which governance is very important to address this question. Answer is like this.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question. Sir, please mention some measures to meet the forthcoming challenges faced by the startups.
Startup measures.
Yes, sir.
Startup measures, you see, the number one is there must be innovative idea. If idea is innovative and it is like artificial intelligence related, or like any kind of innovative idea, certainly will be clicking, will be highly, this is the need of the hour. And if the idea is conducive, idea is very much innovative, so there will be no restriction for getting funds initially, because angel fundings are there and other schemes are available for startup business, for starting a business with a innovative idea. So idea must be innovative one. This should be the mantra, because you see, many unorganized sector came into became an organized sector because of one software only. So that innovative software, that innovative idea will lead, will give immense facility for the startup business operator to be sustainable. And as I told you, that environmental, social, and governance, there must be good governance within that, so that the startup can be sustainable, will be highly sustainable.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question. What things to be included in the disaster recovery plans of companies in order to tackle future pandemic like COVID-19?
You see, since I told that Indian corporate, they are forced to face the dynamic risk identification, assessment and management scenarios also, and they are the problem solver. Actually, when problem comes, they are really, corporate people work hard to solve these problems. But thing is, they are this is a new experience for us. COVID-19, it was a very highly impacted, and entire commercial activities were impacted globally. So it was a new experience for us, and we cannot say that immediately this will vanish, or any kind of thing may not come. But looking into that, but this will be my answer, that when the companies or the corporate, they are very much compelled to step up on the building of their technology infrastructure, that will help a lot to overcome the crisis.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And this question is for Professor Bhavnesh Kumar, sir. The question is, what should be done to revive small enterprises in village area that are shut down during this pandemic?
The question is very good, because I've already, my voice is audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, the government
yes, sir.
of India has already.
Clearly audible, sir.
Okay, the government of India has already introduced the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and a lot of, you can say, the funds have been infused for the medium and small enterprises. If you analyze the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, the major chunk of the fund has been diverted to the agriculture sector and the MSME sector. I hope the credit guarantee schemes and all that, because I have already discussed that there is some problem in the MSME sector, because most of the enterprises in the village area or in the rural area, they have not been registered. And until unless you don't register yourself as GST and other compliances, there is a you can say the lack of fund as far as the financing is concerned. I hope that during the presentation I have already discussed that because the government of India is envisioning that the total contribution of the MSME sector should be increased from 30% to 50% of the total GDP. Their contribution should be increased, and because this agriculture sector is also generating lot of employment, I hope that revival plans are already introduced year by year by the government of India, and it is going to work because reverse migration has took place, and the skilled labor has now they are available because they have moved from the urban areas to the rural areas, maybe by compulsion, but they will try to start up the new ventures in the form of the macro enterprises, which constitute near about I have already discussed that 93% of the total MSME sector. The medium sector is only 1% of the 6.5 crore, which I have already 6.30 crore, which I have already discussed. So I think that the plans by the CDB, the plans by the banks after consolidation, after the NPAs issued are solved in the NBFC sectors and MFI sector, some plans will come, and already there are plans, there are schemes by the government for the rural areas. So I hope that there is some sunshine, there is a silver line in times to come. Already there are revival plans. You can go through the website of the medium and small enterprises. A lot of information is there, because while preparing my presentation, I have searched the MSME ministry website. So there is always there are already a lot of plans there. Yes.
Thank you, sir. As we are running out of time, so we will take only one more question, and that question is for Professor Amalindu Bhuya, sir. The question is, in post-COVID-19, inflation is a major threat to the Indian stock market. So what course of action should an investor follow to be in a safer and favorable side?
Already I have mentioned, I have not considered any macroeconomic variables, whether there is any impact of the macroeconomic variables on the Indian stock market. But I would like to mention you, inflation is an important factor, macroeconomic variable, and according to the economic theory, there is an inverse relation between the stock price index and the inflation. Because inflation is increasing, actually there exists adverse impact on the Indian stock market. But question may arise, then why stock market Sensex is increasing? Sensex is increasing because uncertain behavior in terms of future predictability, and also I can say that the theory from the behavioral finance, two important point I have already mentioned. Number one, hard behavior actually is hard behavior, and also the sentiment effect, and third one is household wealth effect, because inflation affect the household wealth negatively. Therefore, domestic investors investment will be lower than the foreign investor. And if you examine the investment amount, then you can easily understand that domestic investment into the Indian stock market is lower than others. And at the same time, household in
Hello, sir. Sir, might be some connectivity issue there. Thank you, sir. with this, we are at the end of this question and answer session. Thank you all, our eminent speakers, for a very wonderful and informative sessions. Now I may please request Ms. Ananya Sabar Madam for the closure of the session with official vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar. I would now like to quote a very famous line by the famous author Bruce Dickinson. A moment of gratitude makes a difference in our attitude. This is that moment of gratitude for all of us. At the outset, I would like to extend my gratitude towards the chief patron and chief guest of this webinar, Professor Arko Kumar Das Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University. The success of this webinar was an outcome of his supervision, guidance, and diligence. I would further like to thank our revered guest of honor, Professor Bansidhar Majhi, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Veer Surendra Sai University of Technology, for gracing this occasion with his benign presence and for his enlightening words. I would now like to thank Dr. Manas Ranjan Pujari, esteemed Registrar, Odisha State Open University, and Sri Nalini Ranjan Sarangi, respected Controller of Finance, Odisha State Open University, for their continuous guidance and support throughout, and for felicitating our guests. Moving on, I would now like to extend my thankfulness towards the eminent speakers of the webinar, Professor Debashish Sood, Professor S.K. Baral, Professor Amalendu Bhunia, and Professor Pavnesh Kumar. Thank you so much for your informative and insightful deliverance. This topic discussed today was indeed very pertinent and thought-provoking. Furthermore, I would like to thank Mrs. Prashansa Das for conducting this webinar in a smooth manner. I would also like to thank Mr. Kirut Chandra Maharana for conducting the moderation session with such ease. I would further like to extend my gratitude towards the people working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this webinar a success. Mr. Abhinandan Tripathi, Mr. Nishant Purohit, Ms. Swagatika Behera, Ms. Basanti Oram, Ms. Sagarika Mishra, and Ms. Subhra Sharaf. Thank you so much for your hassle-free tech support. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the entire OSOU fraternity, all our faculty members, staff, coordinators, learners, and participants. It was due to your gracious presence this webinar was successful. Thank you. And with this, I call it a day.
Thank you so much, Ananya. And thank you from us, sir. I would request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, if we have some concluding remarks for all of us.
Thank you, Prasangsa, and of course, Ananya at the end, and everyone, Kirud in between. I've already said before, and once again, I would like to thank every one of you, Professor Debashish Sood, Professor S.K. Bral, Professor Amalendu Bhuya, and Professor Pavnesh Kumar, and of course, I'm sure Professor Bansidhar may be off now to his own duty in his own office. So you have all made it happen. It is possible because of your continuous support, and I'm very sure you will continue to extend similar support in future as well. There were some disruptions with that of Professor Amalendu because I know it's an online event, and therefore technology and that connectivity is always a question, always also a risk. So, but then it is well taken, and next time when we organize any kind of such events, we'll start with Professor Amalendu Bhuya first, and then we'll end with his guru, Professor Debashish Sood. So thank you so much, and many thanks to all of you for accepting our invitation in a very, very short span of time, maybe 3, 4, 5 days back. And we are a young university, just into the 6th year, so we have miles to go, and therefore your continued support is necessary and needed. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Namaskar, sir.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste, Devashisu sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Especially Devashish sir for the concept and
Sir,
coordinating.
Professor Anshul Kumar Das Mahapatra, sir. Namaskar.
Group
Thank you,
photo
madam.
nahi
Thank
ho?
you.
Prasang sir, did you take a group photo?
Yes, sir. We will have a group photo now. I request all our participants to please on their videos, especially our resource persons, our esteemed speakers. So, our technical team. So, are we ready for a group photo? So, I'll just announce the numbers. I will request Ananya to announce the number, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Now we can just close the meeting. Yeah, I would request our technical team to please close the Zoom session. Thank you so much.